Assalamualaikum students. Today our topic of discussion is the coast wave processes, in which we are going to discuss the process of erosion, process of transportation and process of deposition. Okay, so first of all we are going to discuss about the coast. Okay, first of all we can say the coast is the area which covers zone where sea and land processes occur. As you can see that there is a sea which actually approaches towards the coast, so this region is basically called as coast. Okay, and coast is basically divided into three regions. The one is offshore, the second one is foreshore, and the third one is backshore. As you can see that offshore is the region where there is a sea. Okay, you can see that there is a sea which approaches towards the coast, and that place is basically called as offshore. And there is a slopy region where you can see this beach here, or you can see the sand here. Okay, and this place is basically called the foreshore. And the other region is called the backshore. Okay, now students, you know about that there are two type of tides, you can say waves, which one is low tide and the other one is high tide. As you can see that the low tide only approaches to the foreshore area and the offshore area. So low tide only approaches towards the offshore and foreshore. You can see that here is the low tide, and the low tide only touches offshore and foreshore. And high tide approaches the only the backshore region. You can see this is the backshore and it is above this place, like you can see this place. So only high tide approaches towards the backshore area. Okay, now we are going towards the wave processes. So students, there are two type of wave processes. The one is destructive waves. Destructive waves, strong waves generated by winds, have great energy. So these waves, they have greater energy. Okay, and as you know, they have greater energy. So whenever they will strike, for example, this is the coast and this is the rocky structure, as you know. So whenever the waves which will approach here, the destructive waves will approach here, they will erode the rocky structure. They will erode this rocky structure, and how they will erode it, that is something else, we will discuss it later. And the other one is constructive waves. So basically we can say destructive waves plays a important role in coastal erosion, in the erosion of this rocky structure. Now is the constructive waves. As we had discussed that the destructive waves, they have the higher energy, and constructive waves, they have lesser energy. And what they tends to do, they basically play a part in deposit the sediments on the coast. Okay, so we have discussed these constructive waves and destructive waves. Okay, now we are going to discuss some part of waves. As you know that wave approaches like this. Okay, and the upper part of the wave is called as crest, and the lower part is called as trough. Okay, and wavelength is the region between two successive crests. Like wavelength is the distance between two consecutive crest or two consecutive trough. Okay, this region is called as wavelength. Okay, now we are going to discuss something about the processes of erosion. Processes of erosion we have discussed, like there are four processes of erosion. Is one is abrasion. Boys, abrasion is the process, as you know, that in waves there are rock particles present. In the waves there are rock particles present. Whenever these rock particles will hit the coast, and whenever they hit the rock structure along the coast, then they tends to erode by the abrasion, or you can say rubbing action. You can say whenever the two rocks they will rub against each other, then they tends to erode. So basically abrasion is that process. Okay, the other one is hydraulic action. As you know, whenever the waves approaches towards the coast, okay, whenever waves approaches towards the coast, then as you know that water has a powerful action, and whenever the water they will strike the rock particles or rock surfaces, then they will tends to increase the gap which is already present in the rock particles. Okay, when they will try to increase the gap, then they will tend to basically weaken that structure. And the line of weaknesses, you know, the rock particles they have some line of weaknesses, they tends to get broadened, and the rock structure gets weakened. So the other one is solution. As you know that the rock particles they have some minerals present in them, some minerals present in them. So as you know that water has the capability of dissolving other minerals in them. So water tends to dissolve the minerals which are present in the rock particle, and thus they will create some spaces, in the rock particle, and because of that spaces their structure gets weakened. The fourth one is attrition. Attrition is the process in which the rock particles they get collide with each other, and whenever they collide with each other, what happens, the larger particles get broken down into smaller particles which are pebbles or sand, Okay, so the meaning is now we are going to discuss about process of transportation. So in process of transportation, the particles which are deposited along the coast, they are deposited in two manner. The one is the zigzag manner, in which the particle they approach in the zigzag manner towards the coast, and the other one is the the particles they are transferred along the coast in the parallel manner. As you can say, they are approaching in the parallel manner, and in this they are approaching in a zigzag manner. Now the remaining one is process of deposition. Process of deposition basically occurs whenever the waves lose their energy. You remember we had discussed about the constructive waves which have lesser energy, and what they tends to do whenever they approach towards the coast, they lose energy, and the particles they are deposited along the coast. Particles are deposited along the coast. Okay, so this is all about our today's lecture. If you have any question, then you can ask by commenting below. Okay, thanks.